Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of My Thoughts. So this is again, I'm going to be talking about the Last of Us HBO series. The last episode of My Thoughts, I talked about the very first episode of the HBO series, and today I'm going to be talking about generally, like I said, I mentioned this in the last My Thoughts episode with the Last of Us HBO. Um, I'm not going to be doing my thoughts episode for every single Last of Us HBO episode, but generally the occasional episode for, while the Last of Us HBO's out and, the episodes are coming out. Generally, every once in a while, I'll do my thoughts episode on The Last of Us and the new episodes that have come out. So, primarily, the very previous episode, which would be episode 4. This is also post editing me. I realized a few times I messed up and said episode 5 a few times. So if you hear me say episode 5, just disregard it. I really mean episode 4. Episode 5 didn't come out yet. That's the one coming out on Friday. So please disregard. This is episode 4. I apologize for confusion. It's aired this past Sunday. Is the one that I'm going to be talking about primarily in this episode. The last few episodes, there's nothing major I really wanted to talk about. Nothing much happened in terms of stuff that I want to talk about, so I'm not really going to be talking about those. Pretty much, like I said, I'm only going to run my thoughts on for The Last of Us HBO. If there's something I really want to throw in there or talk about, or anything really major that I feel I need to talk about that goes along with the series. Um, so we're gonna, like I said, for the most part, talk about my thoughts on what I think about episode 5. I watched it, and then there's another episode coming out Friday. So we got two episodes in 1 week. I think that's the reason the episode's coming out Friday instead of Sunday like they normally do. It's because of the Super Bowl. I think I pretty much read something that somewhere. I don't know, whatever. But so yeah, episode 5. I've been, and the past few weeks, just pretty much all the episodes since episode 1. I've watched with my one friend. We watched every episode together. And all right, there's been a lot of memes. I've seen so much memes. I just want to get this out of the way. There's been so much memes on the Last of Us HBO series, and just how they are, and just kind of how the episodes are going, and the actors and everything. And you know, it's not the best feedback from what I've seen. Again, I've seen a lot of people that love the series, and I've seen a lot of people that aren't a big fan of the series, and they pretty much hate the series. Um, Primarily bigger fans of the Last of Us game, and not really the series itself. Now I'm both ways. I like the series. I like just watching it. It's not anything that I'm kind of too invested in as a series, but as just a Last of Us fan, like I think as a Last of Us fan from the games, I know, I like it. I like the show. It's good. I think I really am enjoying it so far, and certain things there's wrong with it in my opinion, like just how they base things off of and the kind of play, how the script goes and how things are. Now again, I'm not really going to be giving too much spoilers for those of you who haven't watched it, or are going to watch the new HBO episodes. So there's no huge spoilers, so just to get that out of the way, there's no huge spoilers, but like I said, in episode 5 primarily, alright, so now we're on episode 5. I'm not really going to be, like I said, I'm not really going to be talking about the other episodes that have aired, but episode 5. Episode 5 is an interesting one to say the least. It's based off of the game, the part of the game where they go into the city. Again, no spoilers, but just based off of the part of the game where they go into the city. Now, these are small changes that I noticed. Again, I kind of went over this in the small changes I noticed in episode 1 when I talked about it. Instead of Pittsburgh, they go into the city. There's a city filled with, criminals and the hunters and all that stuff. It's a bit changed, everything is a bit changed with it. There's a new twist on everything, which I'm not a huge fan of, but, it provides some spice to it. It's not exactly what happens in the game. It's not a copy and paste of the game, just in show version, which I get that. I'm not a huge fan of them not accurately. I don't think it's accurately represented of what happened in the game, but hey, that's just my opinion. A lot of other people like it that way, so that's just my opinion. But instead of it being in Pittsburgh, the city chapter, it's in Kansas City, which not a big deal, but I just noticed I picked up on that it's in Kansas City, Missouri, instead of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, which is again, I don't. It's not a necessary change. I don't. They could have just had Pittsburgh in there. Like they didn't really need to change that. But it doesn't really matter that much. But and again, I'm not gonna shy away from criticizing the show. I like the show and I like the game more the game than the show. But I like the show. But again, I'm not gonna shy away from criticizing it. If I have something that I think is wrong with the game, I'm gonna say what I think is wrong with the game. Um, Now, there's a light spoiler here. The leader of sorts. It's if you want to consider it a spoiler, I don't know. Potential spoilers ahead, I don't know. But the leader of the hunter group in the game, like the hunters, it's supposed to be the hunters, or the kind of the leader, or just somebody involved with them, is the voice actor that played Tommy, which I have a huge problem with. So you know how the voice actor who played Marlene in the game actually plays Marlene in the show as well. Well, that's the same deal with Tommy, except it's not Tommy. It's just some random guy that appears and that's involved with the hunters, um, which I have a problem with. Why, if they had him right now, I understand. Of course, the game is almost it's a decade old. The original Last of Us is a decade old. Of course, not all actors after a decade are going to be available, or voice actors, if you want to get them, they're not going to be available. But if Tommy's voice actor was available, why would you have Tommy there but not playing Tommy? You know what I mean? It completely doesn't make sense, and it's one of my biggest problems with episode 5 that I've seen. Now, of course, I only saw him briefly. We only saw him briefly in the episode a few times, and actually something else I picked up on. He spoke very little words. But obviously I knew that it was Tommy's voice actor. But why have if you're gonna have him, might as well just have him play Tommy though, you know, from the jump. Why not? That's something that I don't really understand. Maybe it was just refreshing. Maybe it was just kind of a refresh. Like maybe he didn't really want to play Tommy, or not. I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but from my perspective, as a fan's perspective, an outsider's perspective, whatever you want to call it, why not just have Tommy play Tommy if you have Tommy's voice actor? Of course, he sounds like Tommy, and he should be Tommy. You know, I don't know. That's one of my biggest problems with episode 5, though. For the most part, the episode was alright. Nothing really too major that I wanted to really harp on. Just the whole Tommy thing doesn't really make sense to me. I believe from what I read, I was reading online this past week, and I believe that The Last of Us HBO series has gotten renewed for season 2. So I think they're going to be doing season 2 stuff. I'm not sure what that will exactly entail or what's going to happen, but I think it's definitely gotten renewed for season 2. That's just what I heard. I'm not sure how reliable that is, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. But the series as a whole, the first 5 episodes, right? I'm not entirely sure how to feel about it. Part of me is like, I like The Last of Us. I like the HBO series. I think it's cool that they're making it into an HBO series. The other part is like, it's like, I don't really mind. It's something that I don't mind. It's just, it's certainly good exposure, just in general, regardless of what you think about it. It's certainly good exposure for Naughty Dog, and it's certainly good exposure for the game as a whole, because a lot of people who watch the show are also going to end up playing the game. I mean, buying or playing the game. So it's definitely more exposure for the game as a whole, because I feel like not a lot of people. The Last of Us wasn't very. Of course, it was popular, but it wasn't as well known as it is now. Of course, the more people that watch it, the more people find out about the game and do the research. So, cheers to them. The Last of Us is definitely getting more exposure as a game, and of course, the show certainly benefits to that. But episode 5, I'm gonna have to give it a solid 5 out of 10. Maybe I'll up it to maybe 6 out of 10. Um, Again, it's not an episode I was a huge fan of, especially since they did the whole Tommy thing. I mean, that really, and like I said, I don't really know what happened behind the scenes, but the whole Tommy thing again just didn't make sense. And also, just I feel like a lot of the scenes, the action, quote unquote, action scenes, were kind of slowed down. Like, if that makes sense, like, they weren't as fast paced action as I know some shows have. Like, I feel like some of the action scenes in there where they're shooting and everything, there's not, they were kind of slow paced, and it's not really what you would expect. But that's pretty much my criticism for the episode. Great episode. Besides, pretty good episode. I mean, it set the boundaries for what's ahead. Got another episode tomorrow, Friday, and it's kind of all I really wanted to talk about, and really all my thoughts were. A few side things I would like to talk about. First of all, my thoughts. I know the past two, my thoughts have been about The Last of Us. It's not turned into the whole Last of Us thing. I just, really wanted to get, my thoughts of Last of Us, the HBO series, out there because I was talking about it a little bit before it came out, and I'm talking about it now after it came out and, the first few episodes. But there's a lot of new My Thoughts episodes that are probably going to be coming out soon. I have a lot of other things I want to talk about besides The Last of Us. So please don't think that My Thoughts is turning into a huge Last of Us thing. Probably the next episode, My Thoughts that I'm going to talk about, it has anything to do with The Last of Us, is probably going to be the season finale. I'm going to give my final thoughts on the season finale, and it's probably going to be it till New Last of Us comes out. I don't know when, whatever. We'll talk about that soon enough. And also, just another side note here, gameplay. It's been Midnight Club or NBA 2K gameplay for the background, and usually I don't really pay attention to the gameplay. Of course I pay attention to it, but I don't really pay attention to the gameplay that I use for background videos that I just talk, for background that I talk about in My Thoughts or podcasts or all that stuff. But I've had it's been pretty much a lot of the same game, so they're probably going to switch up soon, probably in next week's videos, just to go forward, just a side note there. But that's pretty much it. Comment down below what you guys think of The Last of Us HBO. I mean, do you guys like it, or, is it good? Let's discuss, what do you guys think? So, that's pretty much it. Make sure to subscribe for more content, like the video, all the good stuff, Discord, Twitch, Instagram, links in the description. And I'll see you guys in the next video.